What's up, it's Cairo, one of your MTG ambassadors. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me today. We are going to be talking about Wilds of Eldraine Limited, the up-and-coming set for standard and other formats. It's coming to MTG Arena and a tabletop. We're going to be talking specifically today about limited archetypes, including the signpost uncommons that you'll see when you're drafting or you're doing sealed at a pre-release, and they're going to let you know kind of what the color pairs are doing. So stick around to the very end and you'll know all the limited signpost uncommons. So thanks for liking the video, thanks for subscribing, and thank you to Wizards of the Coast for supporting and sponsoring this video. And you can pre-order Wilds of Eldraine using my link in the description. And we can see our first signpost uncommon right here, Shirai of Numbing Depths. Total mana cost of 4, 1 blue, 1 plains, 2 generic for a 2/3 merfolk wizard. When this enters the battlefield, you can tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it, which is a mechanic introduced in Dominaria United. And also, when you tap one or more untapped creatures your opponent controls, you get to draw a card. And this ability triggers only once each turn. I'm going to be honest with you, Shirai of Numbing Depths seems absolutely infuriating in playing an Azorius tempo build in Limited. You get to tap down my creatures, and then you also get to draw cards off of it. That seems really potent. And if you're drafting and you get the white and blue cards that tap creatures and then the payoffs, I think you're in a very good spot. Next up, we have Dimir Fairies Control, and I played a lot during Lorwyn block, so this hits nostalgia for me. I loved blue-black fairies then, I love blue-black fairies now, so I'm excited to see them back in Wilds of Eldraine. Here's our signpost uncommon, Obira Dreaming Duelist. 2 mana, 1 blue, 1 black for a 2/2 fairy warrior with flash and flying, already good start. Whenever another fairy enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. So pretty simple, nice 2-drop 2/2 flyer that can ping in 2 damage if your opponent doesn't have a flyer or a creature with reach, and also pays you off for being in the archetype for getting more fairies on the battlefield to ping your opponent and control the field and hit them with flyers. Speaking of typal draft archetypes, next up we have rats. That's right, Rat Swarm in Rakdos. Our signpost uncommon is Totentan's Swarm Piper. It's 3 mana, 2/3 human warlock bard, 1 red, 1 black, 1 generic for legendary creature. And whenever the Swarm Piper, another non-token creature you control, dies, create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. So your rats can swarm, but they cannot protect you. But for 1 black and 1 generic, you can have target attacking rat you control gain death touch until end of turn, which means they don't want to block the rat swarm. You can just imagine if there's some sacrifice stuff going on, you can sacrifice tokens, replace them with rats, keep attacking with death touch rats, and they don't want to blocking. The rats just keep coming at you turn after turn. This is a cool Rakdos archetype for Wilds of Eldraine. Next up, we have powerful monsters, and our signpost is Ruby Daring Tracker, 1 red, 1 green, 1/2 with haste. Nice. When it attacks while you control a creature with power 4 or greater, which is something that you're going to see a lot of in this set, in Gruul, if that happens when Ruby attacks, she gets +2/+2 till end of turn. And also, if you don't need to attack with her right away, you can use her to play a big creature, maybe with power 4 or greater, to enable your other things in Gruul. I think this is a great card. If you draw this, you play it on turn 3, you can immediately tap it for mana. Maybe you play another 2-drop, or maybe you play Ruby Daring Tracker on like turn 3 or 4 when you draw her and you already have a creature that's a 4/4 or 4/3 or something, and she immediately comes in with haste as a 3/4 and is able to attack. I think it's a great aggressive card. Next up, we have Selesnya doing Selesnya things in their Enchanted Creatures bonus archetype. You'll see the signpost uncommon here. Sir Armont the Redeemer, 5 mana total, 1 white, 1 green, 3 generic for a 4/4 human knight. When it enters the battlefield, create a monster roll token attached to another target creature that you control. I put up a full Twitter post about the new mechanics in this set. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can read all about it on that post. But there are rolls in this, which are token enchantment auras. So it's a little bit easier to get your creatures enchanted in this set than it typically would be relying on just cards that are auras alone. So it's kind of easier to turn this archetype on. So ideally, Sir Armont would come down, you have another aggressive creature, you put that monster roll in that creature and make that human knight over there a monster, give it +1/+1 and trample, and then the other +1/+1 on top of it because it's enchanted. Now each creature can't have more than 1 roll on it, so you can't have a monster and also a royal or something like that, so you do only get 1 per turn, but you have multiple things, that creatures that come in that generate their own auras, which I think is very cool. Next one's for Orzhov players. It's Bargain Midrange. It's a bargain. What are we talking about with bargain? Let's let's find out. Here's the signpost. Neva Stalked by Nightmares, 4-drop 2/2 with Menace. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Neva and then scry 1. So we're talking about making use of Bargain, which is something that allows you to sacrifice an artifact, a token, or an enchantment, and then get a reduced cost on a spell or a higher payoff on a spell, and kind of a sacrifice theme that we get rewarded for these auras and things going to the graveyard, then we can get them back later. So Orzhov Sacrifice, kind of a mid-rangey thing. I'm really excited for Orzhov because it just kind of lives in that realm where it's not aggressive, but you just kind of slow roll that value over time, and you're just kind of, the opponent knows it's going, you know, their value is going down and yours is going up over time, but they can't really stop it. So it's just a very Orzhov thing, and that's cool. I'm looking forward to playing that in this set. All right, where are the spell slingers at? You want to cast spells? I got you covered. Here we go with our signpost uncommon for Izzet. Johann, Apprentice Sorcerer, 1 red, 1 blue, 2 generic for a 2/5. A lot of toughness on Johann. Legendary Human Wizard. You can look at the top card of your library anytime. Very blue thing to do. Once each turn, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from the top of your library. You want to cast instants and sorceries, but you don't have enough in your hand. Johann can cast them from the top of your library. Also going to be some payoffs, I'm sure, for casting spells or double spelling or something like that. So Izzet Spell Slinger is back as a limited archetype. Do you like food? Because I like food. I like eating food, I like generating food, and then I like sacrifice. Well, I don't really sacrifice food, but you know who does? Greta. Sweet Tooth Scourge. 1 green, 1 black, 1 generic for a 3/3 human warrior. Whenever she enters the battlefield, you create a food token, which is an artifact that you can pay 2 generic mana and sacrifice it and gain 3 life. You can also do 1 green mana, sacrifice a food, put a counter on target creature, activate only as a sorcery. Keep in mind that it does not require Greta to tap, so as many foods as you have and green mana that you have, you can put those on your creatures at sorcery speed, but you can make your creatures big. You can also do 1 black, 1 generic, sacrifice a food, and draw a card and you lose 1 life. This card, I think, is pretty powerhouse. First of all, it's a 3/3 for 3. You generate a food token, and then you have multiple things that you can do with that food. If you need the life, you got the life. If you need the counters, you got the counters. If you need the card draw, you got the card draw. And plus, you offset your own ability. If you use, you know, you lose a life, you have food, you can gain life off of that. So Greta is the whole package for me. I'm liking Golgari food mid-range. So we've seen some control stuff, we've seen some tempo stuff, we've seen mid-range, we've seen food, we've seen bargain. Where's the aggro? Well, I'm about to show you where the aggro is. It's Boros Go White aggro. It's a celebration. Here's our signpost, Ash Party Crasher, 1 white, 1 red, 2/2 haste human peasant. Celebration. When Ash Party Crasher attacks, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Ash. And you know what that means is we want to play as many cheap creatures as we possibly can to make sure we always hit those 2 or more non-land permanents entering the battlefield. Be nice if all of them had haste and we just start smashing from turn 2 and go. I like it. And finally, I'm calling on you. If you like to ramp into spells that cost 5 or more, we've got you covered with this signpost right here in Simic. Troyan, Gutsy Explorer, 3 mana, 1 blue, 1 green, 1 generic for a 1/3. Not the most powerful creature, but let's look at the text box. Tap, add, blue, green. Spend this mana only to cast spells with mana cost 5 or greater or spells with X in their mana cost. 1 blue and tap, draw a card, discard a card. So not a really good brawler, but a very good ramp. So in Simic, we want to take advantage of the massive creatures and big spells in this set, preferably cost 5 or more, and there'll be other payoffs for 5 or more here, but best case scenario, you play Troyan Gutsy Explorer on turn 3, turn 4 comes down, you lay down your land, and then you've got a 6-drop on turn 4, baby. That's what I'm talking about. When you want to ramp, you get Troyan Gutsy Explorer, and you go Simic. Once again, I want to thank you for liking this video if you found it helpful, subscribing to the channel. There's going to be box breaks coming up for Wilds of Eldraine. There will be Wilds of Eldraine standard decks, draft gameplay, early access event, all of that right here, Cairo MTG. Thank you very much for all your support, and thanks to Wizards of the Coast once again for sponsoring this video. Have a great day.